Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with a Purpose. I am Martin Castle. I'm substituting for Diana, who is not available today. So I'm trying to do it all here. I'm at the Metro Works, and there are a few people remote. So let's do our usual introductions. We'll start with the people who are remote. And we'll start with Paul. You're first on the screen. You just came through a great Veterans Day commemoration. There were actually at least 5 people from our Coffee with a Purpose group that were out there. So
there were.
Those who don't know you, but I think most of us do.
I've had great support from this group, and I appreciate it. It was had to be the best crowd downtown Natick I've seen in maybe ever. But it was a great week, and I'm Paul Carew. I've been with the Coffee with Purpose for a long time, and I am the Director of Veteran Services and ADA Coordinator for the town of Natick.
All right, Chris, you're next.
Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Gentry. Haven't been here in a few weeks now. I finally remembered to put it back into my work calendar, so now it actually exists. So I've been joining for a while now. Been a Natick resident for about 25 years and just looking to always learn more about what's going on.
Okay, very good. And Carol?
Good morning. I'm Carol Berkowitz. I live I've been in Natick for over 50 years. I live on Lake Achitchewit, concerned about the lake, and I've been at town meeting for many years. Yeah. Good morning, everybody.
Okay, good morning. Now, Brinley.
Good morning. Been in Natick for 20 some odd years, 24 years maybe. Town meeting member. I was on a long time ago, the Pay As You Throw Task Force. Love living in Natick, actually, and I'm glad you're here today. Thank you.
Okay, and I think, Tom, you're the last person that's here remotely. Your mic should be on.
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Tom Daly. I'm a resident of Natick for 34 years, a member of 350 Org Climate Activist Group, and looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Thank you.
Okay, and if you see any other boxes on your screen, they're just computers for people who are also here in person, so they don't need to introduce themselves. So let's go through the people that are here in person. We'll start over on the other end with Judy.
Judy Dixon, 30-year resident of Natick, have worked in the schools, the rec department, adjacent to the rec department through a state grant. For young families with children, and presently housing equity advocate for Family Promise Metro West.
Okay.
Good morning. I'm Kathleen Donovan. I'm on the library board of trustees. I've been a resident of Natick about 34 years now, and I volunteered with Keep Natick Beautiful, and really looking forward to hearing what you have to share.
Cindy.
Good morning. I'm Cindy Bates. I'm a 5-year resident of Natick. I live on Lincoln Street. I am a member of Sound and Spirit Chorus. We've got a concert coming up, and I am a trail steward, and I am a Keep Natick Beautiful support.
Okay, and pass over Rebecca for our speaker for a second, and
hi, Bill Ramage, environmental person, trail steward, Keep Natick Beautiful, involved with Eco Natick. And I'm the chair of the Community Preservation Committee. So glad to have you here, and welcome.
2 more people have signed on remotely. If you can get your microphones on, we go Catherine, and who's the other one? Rick.
Catherine Coughlin, select board and member of town meeting, interested in all things about environmental and economic justice, and in helping our less fortunate, financially fortunate members of our community.
Okay, and Rick, you want to?
Yes, hi. Looking forward to hearing you in the discussion. Rick Devereaux, town meeting member and Eco-Natick member.
Okay, and I'm Martin Kessel. I am co-host with Doug, and today I'm trying to do it all, so we'll see if I can handle it. Also, I don't know how many you're resident, 30 plus years resident, and most of those town meeting member, and most of those chair of the open space committee. So those are my main activities. So I'd like to welcome Rebecca Gallo from A Place to Turn, which I'm eager to learn about because it's a Native organization that I really wasn't aware of. So I'm eager to learn about it. And I'll let you take it from here.
All right, well, thank you all so much for having me and for introducing yourselves. Such a great group. I like to start by saying I live in Natick now. I actually grew up in Natick, left for a bit and came back about 8 years ago. I actually grew up on Sheridan Street, so right down the street. So glad to be here. So A Place to Turn. So we are a food pantry in Natick on Hartford Street, right across from Kennedy Middle School. We serve 15 towns, sort of in the surrounding community. I will say the vast majority of folks that use the pantry come from Framingham and then Natick and Marlborough, and then a smattering from a few other towns. We are open 4 days a week. Our numbers, I will say, have been going up dramatically. We serve about an average of 70 folks every day we're open, so that's about 280 families a week. So last year we served about 35,000 individuals and about 9,000 families. If we continue on the current trajectory, we'll serve about 50,000 people this year. So it's about a 60% increase in folks using the pantry. So I'll sort of start with that. I think one thing that makes a few things that really make us unique is that we offer really a wide variety of food. We offer fresh produce, so there's a farmer's market set up when folks go through that they can choose. They walk out with about 10 to 15, depending on the season, different types of produce. So it's sort of like a giant, so it's like a white Santa Claus bag full of produce. We offer fresh meat, so folks get, depending on family size, between 1 and 3 or 4 pounds of meat, milk, eggs, cheese, dairy. So we really try to give folks stuff that A, is expensive to buy in the store, and B, that folks really actually want to eat. And then we have all the dry goods. So sort of, you know, the beans, the rice, all the canned goods that you normally would get at a pantry and in the grocery store. And really one of our big focal points is dignity. So we do that in a few different ways. One is when folks come through, they check in at the desk, and I will say the vast majority of folks who come to the pantry speak Spanish or Portuguese, growing number of Haitian Creole as their first language, and then obviously folks that speak English. So we have 4 pantry coordinators who are all fluent in English, Spanish, and Portuguese, which is amazing. So they can talk to just about everyone who comes through the door. And then we sort of muddle through Google Translate for the few folks who speak Russian or Ukrainian or Mandarin. But folks come in, they check in, all they have to show is a piece of mail showing they live in one of the communities that we serve. So we don't ask for income, we don't ask for anything else. The idea really is if you're willing to wait for half an hour to an hour for food, that you need the food. That's really not how anybody wants to get food. So we don't want to put up more barriers. So folks come in and then they get called. We have volunteers, which is where if anyone wants to volunteer, I'll sort of put that through this whole speech. Volunteer shoppers that take folks through the pantry. And the idea really isn't, you can't have that. It's really more just to help them through, make sure everyone's getting what they need. And it's actually a really great experience. So they stop at what we call the kitchen, the volunteer who lays out kind of the meat, eggs, cheese, all the stuff that has to be in the refrigerator. Folks can choose whether they want it or not. And we really try if someone says like, I don't eat pork, to give them something else if we have it, or if someone's vegetarian, we usually have sort of a stockpile of plant-based foods. So we do the best we can, obviously within budgets and within what we can do to get folks really what they want to eat. And then they go through, we have period products donated by Dignity Matters, and actually a high school student in Dover Sherburne does a drive for us. She comes every week with stuff. We have diapers for families with kids under 3, because that's obviously a huge expense, and you cannot use your WIC and SNAP benefits to buy diapers, actually, or period products. So folks get a bag of diapers, period products they need it. We do personal care items, so we switch it up. So it's toothpaste, toothbrushes, laundry detergent, whatever. We switch it up every month. Families with kids in school, so 5 to 18, get a little bit extra, so they get an extra breakfast item like waffles. They get snacks, juice boxes, and then an extra fruit. So usually it's grapes or apples. They then go through, the shopper kind of takes them through to the shelf. So we have, basically it's set up like a grocery store. So the shelf is really set up. So there's like cereal and breakfast items, there's canned goods, and they go through, and depending on family size, they just sort of say, you can take 1 cereal and you can take 3 cans of tomatoes. And folks can choose, and we try really hard to actually have choice. So it's not like you can have this brand of corn or this brand of corn. It really is like corn, peas, green beans, you know, whatever it is. So folks really can choose like what they want for their family. Then after that, they go to produce, which is always the most exciting part, I think, for the volunteers and the folks shopping, because it really does look, I should have brought a picture, it actually looks beautiful. And we try really hard, given the population using the pantry, to actually have conversations with folks and say, like, what is it you want to eat? So we started buying yuca and plantains and collard greens, so things that folks really said, like, this is what I would buy at the store. And then they sort of go at a different door, and that's kind of the shopping process. So I would say that's, and so we're trying to figure out like what the increase in numbers is about. And I think it's partly that it's just a lot really expensive to live around here. Judy, if I promise, I mean, housing is, it's just very expensive. Even if I'll meet a lot of folks coming in the pantry have 2 people, 1 or 2 people working.
Do you mind if?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course.
Ricky wants to have their expression.
Of course.
Ricky?
Ricky.
Ricky?
Yeah,
We've
Good.
lost you.
I'm sorry I came in late, but could I ask the speaker to speak a little bit more slowly? It's a little.
Sure. Of course.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
we can't see you at MetroWorks.
Oh, I'm
Really?
here.
You can't see us? Can other people see
I'm like
us?
frozen with my hands up on the screen there.
I see.
Looks like there was a raid.
I'm raising the
Okay.
Are you from the Natick Service Service Council?
I'm from A Place to Turn.
Oh. Okay.
We are going
Okay.
to, if we can figure this out.
You did adjust that, the,
The
I'm
owl.
sorry, do you think if you just, maybe you wiggle something?
I don't think that's it. I am at a loss to figure out what is right. You can hear us, but not see us?
Okay, we're saying yes.
See
Yeah.
if I turn my camera on, will. I come up?
Yes, you're there on the right.
Okay, so we're not gonna keep that on, but.
No.
I'm generous, but I'm not that generous.
You could put your laptop here though.
Yeah.
And I can't take notes,
I can go
but I
too.
will if it's integral.
I'm at a loss to figure this out. I can have Paul if he has any ideas. I need to stop the program.
Well, you can keep talking,
Yeah.
and we'll look for the video.
Phone's on the phone.
Yeah. We could reset everything, but then we're gonna.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And then again.
And your name again?
Rebecca Gallo. So I should have started with, I'm the newish executive director, so I took over in July for Joanne Barry, who, I don't know if folks know Joanne, but she led the organization for 20 years.
Yeah. Well, I think that's who my husband knows. They did your railings and some of your interior work. The Arc Builders did. And we were involved in the Eric Marquin garden.
Okay, I've one possible idea. I'm gonna switch. I have a second computer that I'm using to record on. Let me see if I switch that one, whether that will do any better. Just 1 second. I'm gonna. Post and something, everything's gonna go off for a second, but just bear with me and we'll see what happens here.
Have you expanded a place to turn?
I don't know what I'm doing, just
Where'd you go?
oh, no, she doesn't even have the right kind of connection. No
The other
USB,
side.
there's no USB on this. Seems pretty weird. Okay. Well, that idea sounded right. In my,
That's true.
The picture on Metro Works disappeared.
Right, and we can see Judith Dixon.
No.
So I'm trying to swing this probably
yeah,
on you.
we're, Ventureworks should do, why is, now it's off completely. Oh, I turned the video off. I'm gonna try this.
I'm trying to. That.
Feedback's pretty here.
Oh, was that yours?
It worked.
I think
We're back.
I think it-
Okay.
there's no record, as long as the three other computers have their sound down and only the owl is on, we're gonna be good. Sorry for the interruption. It's right there.
Right, so that was pretty much the overview of who we are, and like I was saying, I think the big headline for us is really trying to figure out why, not why, but sort of how we manage the increase in numbers, and I think it really is tied to, you know, a lot of different things, but you know, food, I think, is sort of the first place people go to for help, so I think if other things are kind of, I don't want to say falling apart, but if you're stressed in other areas, you know, kind of shows up in
Lost her sound.
True.
Okay. I think I've got it all back together again. See, now I'm never gonna trust when you do this without.
Okay. So I was just saying, I think food is usually the first place people will go to ask for help because it's so immediate. Obviously, we all have to eat 3 times a day. So I think we're probably seeing kind of the front lines of increases in numbers in terms of folks needing help in the community. And I think also, you know, if your kids are hungry and you're hungry, like you may be more willing to ask for help than you would for something else potentially. Yeah.
I might have missed this. Did you say what frequency at which people can come back?
So folks can come once every 30 days.
Yeah.
And they get food for about 5 to 7 days. And actually, we're in the middle of doing kind of a little survey of folks that use the pantry, really a set of interview questions. And one thing we're asking is, you know, how long does the food last you? And it's about 5 to 7 days, depending on the family size and, you know, depending on what they're taking, I guess. So we're certainly not a family's entire source of food.
Yeah.
That's not the goal, and that's not really realistic at all. So really, it's a stopgap. And we see, if we look at the pattern of kind of when folks come in, end of the month, we're significantly busier. And I know that's because food stamps and benefits are running out. So you get them at the beginning of the month, you use them, and by the 4th week or the 3rd week, they're pretty much gone. And, you know, SNAP and WIC benefits haven't increased with inflation in years. So it's just not enough to actually feed a whole family by any stretch of the imagination, even if you're really good about budgeting and buying frugally. So, and you mentioned the Natick Service Council, so we do work closely with them. I think, you know, they serve only Natick, we serve a little bit broader. So I think it really is a partnership, you know, their numbers are going up too, I know. So I think without, you know, we sort of both need to be there doing the work and working together to try to really meet the need that is growing. And I think, you know, one thing, but looking at Judy at Family Promise, you know, they're addressing kind of the root cause of why folks are coming in. We're really kind of okay, you need to eat today, we'll take care of that. Well, folks really think about what it means to increase SNAP benefits, to create affordable housing. I think I heard a lot of folks in the room today talk about some, you know, working with the select board, working on commissions to really get to those root cause issues, which is so important because that is what's driving, you know, the numbers at the food pantry. And we certainly can't, the food pantry isn't the solution. I mean, I would love to be out of business in 10 years or in 5 years if it meant that everyone could go to the grocery store and buy the food they need. That's the goal. Unfortunately, I don't see that anytime soon. But I think, but I appreciate sort of the work other folks are doing on those root cause issues. Well, we can then address the immediate needs.
Ricky, you had another.
I have a question. Do you find that people cook to make things that go further than getting stuff from a can?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So we have, when the volunteers take folks through the pantry, there's a lot of really great conversation, and a lot of it's about food, obviously, because they're, choosing food. So I think folks do, and I think culturally, folks are cooking, they want the raw ingredients. They're less likely to take cans. They actually want the chicken and the cheese and the produce so they can make a meal. And lots of good conversation. Another plug if anyone wants to volunteer. For folks going through about like, oh, what do you do with this? Like, I've never used yuca. Like, how do you cook that? Which is kind of fun. And I think also goes back to the dignity piece. Like, it's not about like, we are giving you food. So there's an inherent power dynamic there, but it's really more about like, it's a community, like you need help today, I might need help tomorrow. Let's sort of make this an enjoyable experience for everybody.
Do you stock cooking oil?
People love cooking oil.
We just paid $18 for a bottle of olive oil at Market Basket where we travel to cut our costs.
Yeah.
And it just dawned on me that, when you're cooking with raw ingredients, inevitably you kind of need a little dash of oil.
Yes, so we don't always have it, I should back up a little bit. That's a great question because it actually goes to things like flour and sugar and spices that tend to be more expensive, but you can't cook a meal without them. So we get food donations. So another thing we always can use is sort of food drives, food donations, obviously monetary donations to buy food, but we buy a good chunk of the food that we put out in the pantry. So we get what we can from the Greater Boston Food Bank, although we try really hard not to get sort of the food bank label cans, just going back to the dignity piece. I mean, we do have some of that, and we try to get the staples from them. And then we buy a lot from actually the grocery stores. So Market Basket, Stop and Shop. So as we're buying and trying to figure out sort of our buying power, things like oil are expensive. So we really can't often buy that. So we love it when it gets donated. That's fantastic. So things like baking things, especially during the holidays, but really all year round, is a great thing to donate. So we actually have it this month. We have oil, flour, sugar, sort of as our holiday offerings. Because most folks, like I mentioned, who come through the pantry don't want a frozen turkey. They either it's not what they eat, or they just can't cook a 20-pound turkey in the oven they have. So we actually try to, instead of stocking kind of the traditional sort of Thanksgiving food, we try to stock things like oil and flour and salt and spices, at least this time of year. But great question. I think there's so many things we would love to offer. It's just looking at kind of in our food budget, I will say, given the numbers, probably isn't surprising, has gone up about 70% in the past few months.
Okay, I see we have a bunch of questions now. Should we hold questions? Do you have a thing that you want to finish, or we just take truthful kind of
take one.
Okay. So I found Ricky first and then Rick.
When you said donations, it sort of lit something in my head. And we are now living in a senior community, and we don't do much cooking anymore. So I have all kinds of spices and things. There's a lot on my shelves that I do not use, but it's open. Now, I don't know, but it's spices. There are things like that. Is there any value of any of that to you?
Yeah, unfortunately, if it's open, we can't give it out.
That's
it's still sealed and not expired. Absolutely.
Okay, and anything else, Ricky, or go on to Rick?
No, that was my main question, because I'm thinking of my, that carousel that I have, and I'm looking for things. And things in there that, because we don't cook anymore, they'll go to waste. And I'll look and see if there's anything that's not open. But there is a lot that is open, but
yeah, I wish we could. I hate to waste food, but
yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we got a number of people with questions. So we'll start with Rick, then Sally, and then we have Bill over here.
Well, this is also on the donation side. I'm just curious whether a lot of organizations sporadically have things besides grocery stores, churches that have events. I'm sure you're trying to get out and about to that. Can you do you have sort of percentages of where your stuff comes from? And do you have people doing outreach to communities, through churches and other organizations that have events? Maybe you mentioned that, but if I were listening to you on a podcast, I would slow you down about 25%, maybe 50%.
Sorry about that. I realize I talk very fast.
So.
Yes, so that is a great question. I think we do outreach to churches and community groups. The percentage, I don't know in terms of the food. I would say the vast majority of our, actually, I will do know the vast majority of our food drives do come from churches, synagogues, schools. Natick High does a big drive for us. A couple of the schools do some drives. There's an elementary school in Dover that does a cereal drive, and then they set all the cereal boxes up like dominoes in the school hallway.
That's fun.
It's super fun. They bring cereal to us. So there's some fun, creative things that go on. But yes, we do have one of our senior pantry coordinator, Christian, does all the outreach to kind of all the churches and all the groups, and they do quite a few drives for us. There's one church in Framingham, First Parish, that actually initiated the diaper project. So they do, they give us thousands and thousands of diapers every year. And there's a few other churches that also do that. So diaper drives are also really, really helpful. Because again, diapers are, anyone who's had kids knows, super expensive. So diaper drives, food drives. So yes, I think we do try to do as much outreach as we can to groups for drives. We're trying to do more of that. So if anyone has thoughts or ideas on groups that might want to do a drive, it doesn't have to be a huge one. If folks can bring a couple of boxes of food, that's fantastic. It doesn't have to be, 7,000 pounds of food to be helpful.
Okay. Rick, you're done with your
I
question?
guess there's one other question. Do you still take clothes?
We do not. So A Place to Turn started out as a clothing, partially as a clothing place. We stopped doing that a few years ago, mostly because of space. So we don't do clothes anymore. We do winter coats during the holidays, but that's sort of a very time limited.
Okay, we got a number of people lined up in the queue here. So Sally, you're next. You're being very patient, and then Bill, and then Catherine.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you. Rebecca, I'm just, I came in a little bit late. Where and how frequently do people bring, if we want to donate to you, what are your hours?
So for donations, Monday and Wednesday mornings, anytime between like 8 and 1:30 is good. Or Tuesday or Thursday afternoons from like 1 to 4 are the best times. But if you have donations, you can always shoot me an email or call, and we can make sure we're there whenever you can drop it off.
Also, thank you. Do you, back again to the priorities, if we're going out, I find I'm a senior and I just have myself, but if I in my head knew that I could buy something or some things and just make a little periodic donation, what foodstuffs that would be, like you said, the flour, the oil, what are some things you really value coming in on a steady basis?
Things like the staple items, like cereal is a big one, pasta, mac and cheese, canned tomato sauce. I would say those are probably canned pineapple. Folks love canned pineapple. I would say those sort of staple items are probably the most helpful, because those are things that we have to buy if we don't get donations of.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Bill, down here at Everworks.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. One is, give us a sense of how you're funded, how big the operation is, and then second question: have you been able to negotiate discounts from Stop and Shop, Market Basket? I mean, you're buying a lot of food.
Yes.
Hopefully, they would be receptive to that. And then, have you thought about Trader Joe's for some of the spices? They're really cheap and they're good.
Okay. Yeah, so our funding, so our budget's about 1.2 million right now. Our funding is, so it's shifting. So there was quite a bit of funding from the COVID money and the ARPA money. That's all gone now. So we pretty much get hardly no government money. There's a teeny tiny $25,000 grant that may or may not come back. So we're really funded by grants and foundations and individual donations. I will say individual donations are the biggest chunk of funding. Grants, foundations, kind of corporations are probably about 30 or 40%. I can put the actual number, but it's somewhere around there. And then individuals are the bulk of it. In terms of discounts, we don't get a lot of discounts from Market Basket and Stop and Shop. They do give us donations, so they'll give us stuff that they basically can't sell.
Yeah, near the expiration date.
Yeah, so we do get that. They don't really give us a discount on price. We do use a wholesaler for the produce, so that's just discounted because they're a wholesaler. But we don't, and Trader Joe's is great idea. We've not actually approached Trader Joe's for anything, so that's a really good suggestion.
Trader Joe's claims to donate all of their nearly expired food to food pantries, so you may get on their recipient list.
Great, that's a great idea.
Definitely worth trying.
And we also get food from Spoonfuls, which is a food rescue group. So they go around, they have a truck and they go around to the grocery stores and sort of collect the food that they're willing to donate, and then they bring it to us. So that's helpful too.
All right, Catherine, you're next.
A couple of quick questions. I'm not familiar. I mean, I do a lot of cooking and I have a lot of spices that aren't generally in, somebody's pantry, but I was wondering, do you have suggestions or lists from your clients about what types of spices they would need other than the, salt, pepper, things like that? I'm not familiar with Creole cooking or Brazilian Portuguese food.
Yeah, that's a great question. The ones that sort of we buy when we do buy them and that people tend to really like: paprika, parsley, oregano, chili powder, garlic salt. Those are the ones we usually buy that our pantry coordinators kind of say, this is what folks want.
Okay.
And then obviously salt, pepper, everyone uses.
And then something else I was going to mention is I collect paper bags that have been used, single-use grocery bags from my neighbors, and drop them off occasionally. And I wanted to, I've talked to Christian about this. He sends out an email to people on the listserv when you guys are low on paper bags. So for anyone who has paper bags, most of you have my cell phone number or my email. If you want me to run by your house and pick them up, I usually drop them off in like 200 at a time. Those are bags that, that the pantry doesn't need to buy. And not everybody has reusable bags. And then the question I had about pet food. Do you have donations of pet food? Do people ask for that, cat and dog food?
Yeah, so thank you for doing the bags. That is hugely helpful. I didn't mention that because we do have to buy them if we don't have them. We figure 70 people come through a day, that's 140 bags. So it's one of those unexpected costs. But pet food, actually, we just recently had a donor come in who gets pet food from the pet stores, and I guess the pet food stores donate food to them and then they bring it to pantries. So we do now have cat and dog food. They're coming once a week to drop it off, and it's all bagged up, which is wonderful with what it is written on it. And folks do take it. So I think.
Oh, that's good. And then the last thing is, I also pick up from people in my neighborhood and a couple of other people that I know in town. I run by their house and pick up donations when they can't drop them off during hours. So if any of you online want to make donations and you need them picked up, text or call me and I will pick them up and drop them off. I live within walking distance. So it's not and I'm usually driving through town anyway. So just wanted to throw that out there.
She doesn't have enough to do. She's a selectman.
I really have all this time on my hands. So yeah, thank you, Ricky.
You're welcome.
I think it's well known that those who are the busiest can find the time to do the most additional things as well.
Yes.
But, before we get to Cindy or my hand up, I had a couple of questions, which you may have talked about while I was focused on the technology, so I apologize. One is, where are you physically located? Where is the food pantry located? And the second is, what is your relation with Native Service Council?
And so we are at 99 Hereford Street, we're in the back of the Presbyterian Church, which is like right across from Kennedy Middle School. We have a great relationship with the church. They are wonderful. So we rent the building from them for $10 a year. It went up. It was $1 a year as of last year. So, but they are such a wonderful partner, and I mean, they're really amazing. So which is nice because we're in the back, so if folks sort of don't want everyone to see they're standing and waiting for a food pantry.
And that's where the
it's
community
fine.
garden is as well.
Yes, so we're right past the community garden. And we have 5 plots in the garden, which is wonderful. There's a garden club that plants that and picks it and tends to it for us. So we actually plant mostly herbs in the garden in our plots.
And the Native Service Council relationship.
Yeah, we have a great relationship with them. They are wonderful. I think in terms of food pantries and philosophy and really thinking about dignity and the food you give out and the way you treat people there, I feel like very much aligned with the way we are. So we try to work with them whenever we can in terms of partnering, on whatever we can partner with, and talking about, we use this wholesaler, who do you use, how, techniques, and how do we, deal with the growing numbers and that stuff. So we do talk to them a lot. And they're wonderful over there.
Great. Okay, Cindy.
Yeah. Is Roche Brothers one of the places that you get food from?
Yes.
Okay. And my
Yes,
other,
talk loud because you're.
Roche Brothers, I was
the
curious
microphone's way over
if
here.
Roche Brothers was on the list. And the second one is, do people bring their own bags? Is that something that, so as a picker-upper person, occasionally I find the reusable bags. And I washed one out and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what to do with this, but is that, if you gave them out, would people use them as reusable bags? Is that something you could move towards?
Yeah, so I think, I've only been there since July.
Okay.
From what I heard, they tried that sort of pre-COVID,
Mhm.
and it sort of worked. Part of what was happening,
I put them in your.
people were bringing back bags that were like not washed and like super dirty. So some of the volunteers were like, oh, I don't want to put food in there. So that was part of what was happening, and then people forget. But I think in theory, there are some people that bring their bags and it works out wonderfully. So yes, I think we encourage folks to do that. Most people don't.
All right, any other question? Okay.
I just had a quick question about, people come by appointment?
No, so now they can just come. So we're open Monday and Wednesday from 4 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday from 9:30 to 12:30. So as long as you get there and sort of sign in before we close, then we'll serve you.
And so that I was trying to understand how the line that you were describing happens. It's because you come, and if there were people that were arriving before you, or there's a wait.
Yeah, so basically folks come in, they sign into a book, then our registration desk, they'll go through the list and they'll call them one by one, they'll register them, make sure they're eligible. They'll go back and they'll wait for a volunteer shopper to call them to come shop. So there's sort of 2 points where folks are waiting. We do always offer, when they check in, if they want to do an express order, if they don't want to wait, or if they have little kids, they can't, really don't let little kids like walk through the pantry just because the space isn't big enough. So they can do an express order, so they fill out a form with what they want and a volunteer will pack it and bring it to them. It's fascinating, even on nights when people are waiting over an hour, very few people want to do the express form. They really want to go through and shop. Which I think is wonderful because it means, we're making this a really good experience and they want to choose and they're having an experience with the volunteers. Logistically, it does pose a challenge because I don't want anyone waiting an hour for a bag of food.
And are they coming in cars? Are they waiting do they go back to their car to wait? Like with the cold weather coming, I hate the cold, so this is.
So we do have a waiting room that's heated. It's not huge. I will say the whatever night it was a little bit cold last week, we actually had to ask people to leave because it was just like too packed. It was a fire hazard. So people will wait in their cars, which we also don't love idling cars in the parking lot, but so it's but it is what it is. And then we put benches outside. So when it's nice out, folks can wait. There's a pretty good area outside folks can hang out in. So it's not ideal. So we've kind of gone back and forth, like, do we do appointments? There's pluses and minuses to that. I think it's another barrier. And with the numbers increasing, we'll see where we end up.
You didn't mention peanut butter. Is that a big seller?
Peanut butter is interesting. So some weeks it like flies off the shelves and some weeks no one wants it.
It does last.
So yeah, so I think it's a great thing to donate. I can't predict who will take it.
On your hours, what about people who work during the day and can't get there? Do they have an opportunity to sort of, request a later time or an earlier time or something?
So no, so we do have the 4 to 6 time, Monday and Wednesday. That's the latest we go. So yeah, I think you're right. I think there are some folks that probably have a tough time getting to us. So we've been throwing around a lot of ideas on how to kind of not control the numbers, but anticipate the numbers a little better and try to get to folks that we're not reaching. And I think it is folks that may work later. I think also older adults are another group. We don't have a lot of folks coming to the pantry, and I think there's a huge need in the community. So we're thinking about that.
Okay, Cindy, question?
So, two sort of background questions. One is, when and how did this all start? And then can you tell us a little bit more about you? And since you just started in July, what did you do before?
Yeah, absolutely. So the pantry started it was 1979. There was a couple, Joe and Edna Gillis, who really looked around and said, hunger isn't just in the cities and in the rural areas, it actually is in the suburbs. And they decided they wanted to do something about that. So they started it out of their house. It quickly grew. They were members of the church. So they ended up using what was, I think, the rectory, or where the pastors lived, converting that. And that sort of became the food pantry. They did close. It was incorporated in 1983. So very small for a long time, really kind of volunteer run. Over time, obviously the need grew, got professionalized, hired more staff. I will say during COVID is when it really kind of, the budget just about doubled, given the need and given the funding out there. So I think we're in a place now where, like I said, the COVID money's gone. We're really trying to figure out how to sustain what we have and figure out how to meet, how to serve folks with the biggest need in the community, while still sort of sustaining what we have and really sustaining what I think makes a place to turn unique, which I think is even the founders when they started, it really was it's about dignity. It's about giving folks, the food they want to eat, healthy food. And so not just, we could easily triple the numbers and give folks food bank canned food, but I don't think that's helpful for anyone, to be honest.
And what's the staff?
So we have 6 full-time staff. So there's me, we have an operations director, an inventory manager who does all the ordering and kind of deals with the grocery stores, which is really, it's quite the puzzle, I will say. She's very good. And then we have 3 pantry coordinators who really run the day-to-day of the pantry. It takes a lot to kind of set up the farmer's market and stock the shelves and then manage the volunteers and all that piece. And like I said, 4 of the staff are fluent in English, Spanish, and Portuguese, which is awesome. And then you asked a little bit about me. So like I said, I grew up in Natick. I have a master's in social work and public health. So that's my background. I actually worked right after grad school. I worked at the Natick Service Council for a year. Then at East End House in Cambridge, which is a community center with food pantry, childcare, all kinds of programs. I did grant writing and evaluation there. Then I was at the Metro West Health Foundation for 10 years. So which is the foundation that formed when Leonard Morris and Birmingham Union sold in the mid-90s to the for-profit hospital chain. The proceeds became the endowment for the foundation. So the foundation puts about $5 million into the community every year. So I worked as a grants officer there, managing grants, which is really how I got to know Place to Turn and Family Promise, actually.
Would that be a possible speaker for this group? Somebody from there?
Yeah, actually, there's a new CEO, Phil Gonzalez, who's really great. So he would probably be a good person to invite.
That foundation, because I came in, moved to Natick.
Yeah.
That all happened.
Yeah, I think he'd be
That
great.
foundation funds my position.
Cool. So,
I'm a fan.
Another grant that was still there.
Well, Amy might. I haven't met them, but yeah, my.
Thank you. And so then you came here.
Yes, and food security has always been my personal passion. I started a community meal program when I was in Somerville. It's always sort of been the issue that I care the most about. So it made sense.
Do you want to share your website if people want to get more involved or learn more?
Yes, so
Let me,
it's,
let me see if I can,
yeah, sorry, I meant to bring
let me see if
flyers
I
and I
can
forgot.
log into it as you're talking and maybe I'll share it.
Yep, it's a place to turn. -natick.org.
Do I have it right?
Oh, I think you forgot the A.
Place
yeah,
to.
In the word.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
So good.
So people at home can't see that I'm typing incorrectly, but I will share it in a second if I get a.
That's us.
Okay, and now, well, now I've got to share it, but that's the technical part of it. I think I can share
So
it.
we just actually launched the new website on Friday, Thursday.
wow.
So it's
You
brand
were
new.
like, please come on.
So there's still, maybe still a few cakes in there, but. It's,
All right, is that being shared properly? Can everybody see it? I think so.
Nobody's.
Nobody's commenting. Shake your
We
head.
can see it. If that's what you're asking, we can definitely see it.
Thank you, friendly.
Well, that's beautiful.
So that is our farm, that's a close-up of the farmer's market.
Nice.
So I'm just looking at the topics, the about support, that's what people may want to do is support.
There's a
programs.
needs list there too.
Yes.
Donate button.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'll stop sharing.
I wanted to share that Family Promise is piloting a delivery program for our families who are working and cannot get to area food pantries. I think our outreach person is partnering with Daniel's Table right now for that, but we're seeing how families that we work with might benefit from our picking stuff up from food pantry and then delivering it when they are home. Because we do see that as an obstacle that we want to get around. So just throwing that out there for something that might evolve at some point for, families that maybe we're not connected with, but that you find volunteers.
Yeah, I think that's great, because I think, one of the, right now we have, the numbers are so big in terms of folks using the pantry that we're just kind of struggling to keep up with who's coming through the door, but I think there is a bigger question about, there's a greater need out there. Are we actually serving the folks that need it the most, or just the folks that can get to us? I think we want to make sure we're serving the folks that need it the most. So like, how do we do that logistically is a question we're thinking about. And I think delivery clearly is best for the folks on the other end. It's logistically, challenging on our end, but we're thinking about it. My dream is a mobile market that could go to different neighborhoods.
No.
But
Like a trailer.
yeah.
Bookmobile.
Yes.
Yeah.
The bookmobile for
Vegemobile.
Vegemobile, yes. But we're a little ways off from that, but that's, I think that's one of the things we're kind of thinking about down the line.
That seems like something you could really fundraise for, write a grant for that and get people to contribute specifically for that. Because I know just
Yeah.
speaking from the library's
Yeah.
perspective, a lot of people gave to our friends group or to the library specifically for the bookmobile.
Yeah. And it actually would be a great partnership with the library to go with the bookmobile.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a great
So
idea.
It comes to your door.
Yeah. Some food.
Yeah, what
Like
could
the
be
town
better?
government is doing that. Isn't the town government doing a-
So many slogans.
I like that.
Aren't some of the town departments doing like little road show too?
They've done it once, yeah, like a mobile.
Oh, the
town
mobile
hall.
town
Oh,
hall.
yeah.
Natick Center will go to your neighborhood once a week. Yeah.
Because you don't have enough to do right now.
Well, I mean, that's sort of the exciting stuff. I'm really thinking about like, how do we, because I really, when I came on, that was one thing. I really was thinking about, was like, there are populations we're not reaching that really do have probably a higher need than some of the folks that are coming. I mean, there are certainly folks that come that are absolutely in need, but. And I think older adults is one, and then families with young kids who have a hard time getting places.
I would love to see a study of the folks who are coming in to use your services and the Natick Service Council to find out how many of them are statistically housing cost burdened. And at what percent are they housing cost burdened?
Yeah.
And are they in an affordable situation? likely not. And if they're stretching to pay market rent, it would just be good data to have, to throw at grant folks and foundations and for advocacy as well.
Yeah, I would love that data. You know,
Yeah, how would somebody go about getting that? I mean, you have to write a grant to have somebody.
Well, or, you know, sometimes in the summers where, I don't know if you're approached by students, we get approached a lot of times by graduate students going into related work. And sometimes as a project, they can design a study. I mean, I came on in July too, and it's kind of like new to me, but we had a couple of students doing some stuff for us and thinking about what other stuff we might need that we could use them for.
yeah,
So
so
what your experience is.
so I mentioned we have a sort of a survey going now. It's really an interview. We had a student, actually a recent MPH graduate, that we got a grant from the Sudbury Foundation to pay her to design these interview questions that our staff and one of our volunteers who's trilingual are conducting with folks just really as they're waiting. And one question, so we're asking, you know, what brings them to the pantry essentially? So is it housing is too high? Is it someone lost a job? You know, there's a million reasons. And if they use other pantries. So we're just in the start of that, but we'll definitely share that data out. I mean, it's certainly not the sample size is really like, who's there that night that is willing to talk to us? And I would say most folks are willing to talk to us. So that'll be interesting though to see if folks are using other resources. Most folks we serve are from Framingham, so they would be able to use the Native Service Council, but if the Native folks are not using the Service Council, they should be. You know, and if there's other resources out there, folks are going to.
You said they would not be able to use the Native Service.
So Native,
That's Native
they're
only.
only Native, yes. So.
Yeah, oh, starts slipping the back. Keep going.
It seems like we're getting close to the end, so if anybody's can think of any final questions, we'll take those and then we'll start talking about our future weeks. Any other questions? Any of you?
I think Ricky has a hand up.
So,
Oh, maybe not.
oh, Ricky.
Oh, I remember.
Oh, you're Ricky, you
How do
have your
people
hand up,
find
but
out
you're
about
muted.
the place to turn?
Ricky,
You
Yes.
muted her. Can you unmute?
I muted her way back. Yeah, she's got to unmute though. I can ask her to unmute, but I can't unmute her.
And she may not see it.
Yeah, Ricky, you've got to unmute yourself. I can't do it.
There she goes.
There we go.
Okay, are bags of this size of any use to you?
What you used, right?
Yeah, those are perfect. Yep.
Okay, because these are bags that when we order our food to our room, there's no food that touches this bag. Little boxes of food come in that, but they're perfectly clean. And I save them and I'll be happy to pass them on to you. And I have some bags that are handle bags from the supermarket. They are, they're not cloth, but they're paper, but they have handles and they're clean. So I'd be happy to funnel those bags to you as well. The other okay, bye. The other thing is I have a lot of totes that I've been sending to Uganda, but I have some that when you make a donation to Doctors Without Borders, they send you a cloth bag. I must have 10 bags of that sort that are reusable that you're welcome to have. If that's okay, I'll pass that along. The other question is, do you have an ongoing relationship with the Natick Organic Farm?
We do have a relationship with the farm. There's a few farms that donate in the summer, but not the organic farm. So Powysset, Stearns Farm, Framingham Community Farm, Gleaners. That's it. So we do not.
Well, they have a relatively new director, and since you're new, you can play, gee, I didn't know that. And you can approach them, tell them I sent you.
Well, they know to respond.
Yeah.
I was on the board of selectmen that donated the land to the community farm back in 1975. So my name might carry a little weight, I don't know. But by all means, tell them where this suggestion came from and see what kind of, excuse me, of a relationship you can develop with the farm, because they grow beautiful stuff, and we really support. There's a governmental relationship with the farm, and a lot of us have donated for the entire time of its existence, and we'd like to see cooperation and that kind of work go on in the town. So feel free to use my name.
Well,
So
thank you.
you will get bags from me, and thank you. It's wonderful to have you here. And
Thank you.
I hope the garden really has a lot of stuff for you. And there are plots for the native pantry in my garden, which is next to the housing authority. And if there are any used plots, you can tell Randy Waters that I said it was okay to make sure that a place to turn gets the produce.
Well,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
Appreciate that.
Okay, Catherine, I think you may be the final question.
Well, I did remember.
Oh, Cindy remembers her
Yeah.
question.
How do folks who come to get food, how do they find out about the place to turn?
Yeah, so we actually asked that on the registration form and it is overwhelmingly like 99% word of mouth. So I think folks are just telling, obviously telling their friends, telling their family, which I think is wonderful to me. That says that they're having a good experience, that they're telling other people about us. It's also, I think, part of why the numbers are growing, but that's all right.
And Catherine?
I was just gonna say, Ricky, if you want to collect all of those bags and ones from your neighbors, I will pick them up when I come and visit you and Jay. That's what I'm trying to coordinate. So I'll call you
Oh,
after the.
beautiful. Okay. I didn't think of other people collecting them, but I'll do that.
So I'm
I'll
giving you that
try and
task.
get- Yeah, great. All
Okay.
right.
That's all right. They go.
I love it. I'm so
you.
glad I tuned in today. I haven't been here.
Yeah, we missed you. Yeah, we got the connection to work finally and all that. Okay. Yeah.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Usually. Yeah.
So before we start talking about our future programs, I'd like to thank Rebecca very much for this presentation. I learned a lot, and I assume everybody else did. And check out the website and see what you want to do.
Are you related to any other Gallos in Natick?
Yes. Donna.
Okay.
She's everyone knows Donna. She's my sister.
Okay.
Oh,
Or, I mean, I grew up here, so
Yeah, and I'm drawing a blank on his first name. but
Tony.
No,
My
that,
brother.
okay, yeah.
okay, you
Yeah.
can continue that. I want to get to our
Go on.
future programs. I want to actually enlist people to help out with our future programs, but next week we do have planned. That's the last week that we actually have scheduled. So Caitlin Madden, from the Executive Director of Metro West Collaborative Development, which is the group that's doing the 5 Auburn Street Affordable Housing Project, will be here back with Ganesh Ramachandran, who was here a few months ago. And he's they're collaborating on that project. So we'll be talking about that next week. And for those who are particularly interested in 5 Auburn Street, the Zoning Board of Appeals is beginning their series of many public hearings tonight at 6:30 at the Selectmen's Meeting Room and also on Pegasus. And it's bound to be a lively discussion, to say the least, but certainly one that many people are going to be paying attention to.